Welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast, where we interview some of the most interesting people that have said yes to opportunities in their life. We hope that through these stories, you can learn to create your own destiny by saying yes along the way. Join us as we explore the new series covering topics such as passion, integrity, and hard work. I'm your host, Jim Riley, and I hope you enjoy these interviews as much as I do. I believe that everyone has an important message worth hearing. Hello and welcome to the Answer Yes podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Our subscriber base we're over 50,000 now, and I'm so thrilled to say that and just watch the numbers grow. I know it has 100% to do with the wonderful guests that we've had on in the last couple of years. It's been a beautiful ride for me. I enjoy doing it. If you have somebody that would be interested in me on the show, please send them my way. I'd love to hear from you. If you've got ideas, questions, tips, send them all my way, and we'll do what we can to accommodate. This morning, I've got Deborah Coviello on the phone. How are you today?
I am doing amazing, and just thank you for the opportunity to talk to you and share hopefully some great insights with your listeners.
Deb, I love adding value to my listeners, and through your backgrounds, I'm particularly always thrilled to have a female on the line telling their story. I just don't think there's enough credit for the women in our executive world, our business world, our entrepreneurial world. And anytime I get a chance to hear from them, I jump at the case. So thank you to the interview valet who introduced me to you. And Deb, if you don't mind, because I know you've got a great book out and I want to talk about that in detail, but if you don't mind, can you walk us back a little bit, kind of your early years, how you got your career started, even if you wanted to touch on, your college days and stuff like that. We'd love to hear some background on you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for the opportunity, Jim. And, it is pretty typical. I was smart in middle school and high school. I thought I was going to be, though, more in the communication area, writing, journalism, maybe acting, the fine arts. I was amazingly talented. And then I don't know, life changed a little bit. I moved into being a STEM professional. I was really good at science and technology, got a little quiet and introverted, went to college, got a degree in biomedical engineering, and never practiced, but I knew that engineering was a great foundation, great problem solving, learned several technical things along the way, but then went into manufacturing because I fell in love, I think, really with the creative process of taking nothing and turning it into something about the creative process. And there's a theme here really resonated with me. So I went into manufacturing and operations, specifically quality and continuous improvement. You had to know a little bit about everything to see the whole perspective, the whole entire landscape, and make the improvements, etc. So really, really loved that. Worked in aerospace, datacom, eventually landing in the flavors and fragrance industry, a very creative industry. Some people think it's just a commodity where you mix a few ingredients and you stick it in your laundry detergent or you put it in your ice cream, but really, it's very interesting. It is an experience.
Yeah.
And if you take it from the standpoint of creating memories and experiences, I remember how the laundry smelled after my mother did it, or it smells like bread, like my grandmother. It's an amazing industry behind the scenes of creating memories and experiences far beyond does it taste good, et cetera. So anyway, I had the good fortune of rising to being the vice president of quality and operational excellence for the #1 global flavors company. And then to your point in the program, I said yes and changed drastically, but I'll pause because I know there's a lot in there.
Yeah, and I'm just so fascinated by the flavors and fragrance industry. As I was digging into your bio, I thought, I've always considered them anchors, right? And oftentimes in my adult life, I'll smell a fragrance and it'll be an anchor for maybe a teacher I had in college, or, their perfume, or what I smelled in the bakery in high school. And it just brings you back. And, it's amazing how those smells and tastes bring you a memory. And the fact that you were actually involved in creating those, I'm just fascinated by it, by the way. How does it work? How do you discover and try and create in that industry? Just from a sidebar of what you did there.
Well, it's very interesting. And while I focused on the operations, because whatever it was that the customer says, yes, that's the smell that I want to be my signature fragrance for this celebrity that's coming out. Again, that's going back way back to my fragrance days. On operations, I had to protect the brand. It had to be the same smell, same whatever, the same color each and every time. So we had a really big responsibility. Otherwise, you kill their brand. But often they will come, this celebrity, they're flamboyant, they love wearing beautiful colors, they want to represent beauty, they want to represent calmness. Can you give us a fragrance? Oh my, what do you do? And so what we need to do, and they actually have science and palettes that say, well, then what are those smells that represent calm? And so maybe they'll go to the lavenders or the eucalyptus or something, whatever that is. But they need to be flamboyant. They need to also make a punch. They may go to the palette and say, well, here's a couple smells or fragrances or ingredients that have a very sharp note at the beginning. They then blend them together and make many different samples and then just offer them up to the client. And you will go through the process of smelling, et cetera, and see if you get that experience. So at the end of the day, and I really want to make this point, yes, we can make any kind of fragrance you want smell really good, but it means nothing. The fragrance means nothing unless you connect with the individual and then they smell it. And then you see the head nod and their eyes close and they breathe.
Yeah.
Peace of mind.
Yeah.
You've created the experience that I wanted. And that's when you get a winning fragrance, you get the contract, and then you get it out into the market. And there's a lesson in there for leaders as well. Don't just deliver what they ask for, deliver an experience.
Yeah. No, it's what a great process to be involved with. And the people in that industry certainly have nailed it. I go into Target and they've got the candles and they say tobacco leather, and my mind goes, oh, that must be me.
But that's what it is. And I mean, obviously great brands, they build brands to resonate with people. Fragrance is part of that. It's connecting with the human senses. And the terrible thing of it is when you go into business, it's okay, show me your PowerPoint. Let's talk about this. Let's critique about it. Let's complete a transaction. And we forget about the human side of doing business. We need to say, oh, wow, I'm so glad that you're on my team because you have this particular background and experience, or you may have worked with this customer in the past. Connecting with somebody emotionally in the context of business.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I come in and where I have seen so often that leaders are great at getting results. And you know what? Those leaders don't last.
Yeah.
They don't leave a lasting impact. Anything we do in business, which is where I transitioned in what I did. I was a great subject matter expert delivering results. When we elevate people, connect with their experience of the past, create experience and build their capability in the future, those are leaders. Those are companies that are really making a difference and are outlasting those that maybe have fallen victim to circumstance, pandemics, and supply chain issues.
I find it fascinating that you were, I don't want to call it a niche industry, but you took what you did there and you blossomed that into what you're doing now, even into writing this book, because talk about how you transitioned out and all the things that applied on a much larger picture.
So thank you for bringing that up. It's one of those things that I was a senior leader in an organization. I was the CEO of the quality or the operational excellence. I had to look at the talent that I had. How do I build an organization that falls in line with a strategy? And then I realized once I went out on my own, wow, I was the CEO then. I now am the CEO of my own business. What are all those pieces? And yes, we're very good at our technical skill, but I found later on it was my leadership, how I led and how I needed to lead differently, not to just get a result, but paint a picture of the future. What are those things we need to do in the future? What skills, what leadership do I need to be putting into the leaders now to elevate them? So when I leave, and fortunately, a lot of those leaders are in higher level positions now that I'm gone as well.
Mm-hmm.
And now I bring it fast forward and my consultancy and my advisory role with CEOs and leaders. Yes, they call me in for my quality and my compliance. And, I've worked in many industries, sheet metal, chemical industry, datacom, even a packaging supplier recently. The common thread is when they exceed their capability and their capacity, they bring in an external expert, and kudos to those leaders that realize they need an external input. But what I bring also, which is a little bit different, is you want to leave a lasting impact. You want to provide an experience, not a one and done. Okay, we got through that. let's call it a day and let's move on. No, no, no. We need to also elevate our people. Now you're performing at a higher level. Now that you have that certification, you now have new business from that customer. What are the skills that people need that served them in the past, but no longer serve them in the future? That's where the leadership component of my brand comes in. I help give people the confidence, new ways of knowing how to communicate, influence. That's what we need to all be doing as leaders. That's my aha. That's why I had to write the book, to not only help the leader think differently about what they should be doing now, and then how to things to elevate their people. Take care of the people. They're going to take care of the results in your business.
Yeah. We have a lot of leaders that listen to this show, CEOs, entrepreneurs that own their own businesses. What process would you recommend they go through to consider outside help? I mean, as you are well aware, most of us in these leadership roles, we think we have all the answers, and there's some of us that are bright enough to go, hey, maybe I need a little help from the outside. What are some of the ways that you can look internally to reach out and ask for that help?
You said something very interesting about leaders think that they need to have all the answers. And what I propose to you is that leaders need to know how to ask better questions. The better questions you ask, the more information may come your way to help you make better decisions. So, the first of all, the leader needs to go through an awareness. I don't have all the answers. I'm not supposed to have all the answers, but do I really listen? And so, with my book, The CEO's Compass, Your Guide to Get Back on Track, some of the early chapters is about looking at you first, you as a leader. Do you listen more, speak less? And when you do speak, you take the collective input of your team to be able to say, okay, this may be then the path forward. They got to start there and then ask themselves, do they have the capability and capacity to do what they need to do in the future, and be honest with themselves? And then once you realize, I don't have the talent now, I call it corporate courage. Have the courage to be able to say, I need help. Don't wait for a rainy day, because I will tell you, I was interviewed once for a position to be a quality leader within the organization. They had lost their quality leader.
Mm-hmm.
It took 6 more months for them to call me back to say, can you put together a proposal, because something's happening and I may need you sooner than later? Put together the proposal. They called me 2 weeks later. They were in a point of crisis. They had a major customer issue. They had lost that leader, and they were getting ready to shut down a plant, and they still needed to assure business continuity. Leaders need to not react. They need to stop and think, what do I need to do now in order to set myself up for the future? And if you don't see that capacity or capability, invest now for 2 years down the road. It's called courage. And it starts with asking yourself, do I have what I need to be successful? And if not, brave enough to ask for help.
I love that term courage, because
Mhm.
oftentimes we don't look at it. We look at it as a weakness when we start asking for help. And to consider it to have the courage is such a more poignant way to put that, because that's really what it takes as leaders, is to reach out. I love that line. If you're the leader in the room, I guess if you know the most in the room as the leader, you've got the wrong team around you, right? You should have smart people around you, adding value to what you do and bringing more to the table. And as the CEO and as that leader, you should be able to pull from those people to run a better company. Um, I just, again, I just love the word courage as part of our roster.
And it's on two fronts. One, as a leader, is to know, have the courage to ask for help. But then you also have to be the leader you need for your people and ask them, do you have what you need to be successful? Because one of the things that did happen to me, again, we own what we do and to ask for help. But my boss, I was having a particular rough patch in an area, and eventually I did get the help. But as the dust was settling and we got through the challenge that we were happening, he asked me, do you have this particular background in your pedigree? Because he was my new boss. And I said, no. And he says, I never knew that. And he says, shame on me. I should have asked. They
Mm-hmm.
just assumed I had a standard background like a lot of different people. And mind you, I did bring great value to that role, but they didn't know that there was a gap. And I had very smart people around me, but he never took the time to ask the question, do you have what you need to be successful? So I do propose leaders add that